Welcome to our final chapter, our final uh, week in exploring leadership from the perspective of faith. As I prepared for this video, one of you who watch every week suggested I might read an article about a billionaire who lives a middle-class lifestyle. Her name is Missy Perdue, who shares that for her there is an emptiness which accompanies taking and a joy which accompanies giving. Following is a quote from her that I really cherish. If you want to be happy, think about what you can do for somebody else. If you want to be miserable, think what is owed to you. There's no better way to describe the difference between a leader who chooses to lead for the benefit of oneself and a chosen few, and a leader who chooses to serve others. If you want to be happy, think about what you can do for others. If you want to be miserable, think about what's owed to you. This is the difference between self-serving leadership and serving leadership. Now, I want to emphasize that because you might have missed what I said, I used the word serving rather than servant. I used this to share one of my learnings in the past 11 weeks of digging deeper into the subject of leadership from the perspective of faith. I've chosen to use serving leadership because ing indicates there is action, an ongoing dynamic of faith-based leadership. Because I've discovered that when we define leadership as a position and office with all the benefits that are owed to those in office, there is a sense of status and stability. On the other hand, when we look at the word serving, there's a sense of movement. There's a sense of action. It's a way of living and giving for others. Remember what the indigenous translation says about what we've been talking about. It's a road that you are traveling on. It's not a place where you arrive. Self-serving leadership is a way of taking and arriving for the benefit of oneself or a chosen few. Serving leadership is for others. Another reason I'm more comfortable in using serving instead of servant is that leadership is not a predetermined experience. Leadership happens. It's a dynamic event when persons choose to follow another. Often it's a surprise. For those of us who choose to follow Jesus, we know that element of surprise, because who would have thought that the handful of followers of an unknown rabbi from Galilee would develop into millions of followers over 2,000 years? What a surprise. It happened. And it happens today. We've discovered that it happens today when persons first have foresight with one foot in the present and one foot in the future, sharing a vision, sharing an alternative, a direction for the future. When a person is followed, it's for the common good. Serving others replaces taking from others. And it's a happening when joy replaces emptiness. And we've discovered it happens today when persons use their own story to convince another without coercion that what is best for all. The experience of joy to the world, indeed, replacing the miserable world of judgment for all. The shepherds first heard the song of serving, joy to the world, when some chooses persuasion without coercion, persuasion over being silent, emptiness is replaced with joy. We've discovered that it happens today when persons make choices to enable others to grow rather than expecting others to be obedient to their direction. It happens in the home where parents make choices to help their children grow up rather than having the children behave so that the parents will look good. You see, not only happens in the home, it happens at work, it happens at play, it happens in church. Yes, when persons are committed to the growth of others. We've discovered that it happens today when persons choose to be healers by serving the plate of grace, radical acceptance of the other rather than estrangement, vindictiveness, and hate. The plate of grace doesn't mean you approve of everything that the other person has done, but it's acceptance of what has happened. Always giving room for new beginnings and the transformation of human relationships by offering a plate of grace to heal. We've discovered that it happens today when persons shed their blinders, enabling them to be aware of the human conditions which exist in the lives of neighbors, near and far. You see, open minds, open doors, open hearts happens today. And we've discovered that it happens today when persons choose to build community rather than cherish the rights of individuals over what is best for all. Yeah, having horizontal vision and building bridges rather than fences. You see, leadership from the perspective of faith happens today. It happens all over. It's the experience of persons choosing to follow others who are serving by being persons of foresight, persuasion, committed to the growth of others, healers, being aware, and builders of community. On the other hand, self-serving leaders wear crowns. They're elected. They're chosen. They have a gavel. They have executive chairs and desks in the best offices with a podium and pulpit from which they speak. You see, Jesus refused the temptation to be self-serving for himself and a chosen few. That's the story of the temptation of Jesus early in his ministry. But his life and teaching said no to be a self-serving leader. It's a story of serving others. Now, next week, we're going to begin a new series of digging deeper into the fraudulent and broken forms of Christianity which exist in the world today. The series is entitled Fraudulent Christianity. But for your thought and conversation this week about what I've just shared, first of all, what is your response to the quote from Mitzi Perdue? If you want to be happy, think about what you can do for somebody else. If you want to be miserable, think what is owed to you. Which of these 6 markings of serving leadership do you find most challenging in your journey of faith? And finally, which of these 6 markings of servant leadership do you find most lacking in your own faith community? Thanks for being on the journey of digging deeper into what it means for leadership to be based on faith.